We left off with Karl Franz having just been defeated by the rebels. He has to regroup and rethink about what his next plans are going to be. But as he waits in his tent, he receives a report of the Empire. Up in the north, raiders have yet to come out of Norska. But the orcs are still sitting in their camps in the Misty Hills. Over in the east, the plagues have continued to spread, but they have not become such a grave danger as to warrant Karl Franz's attention just yet. Further still, spirits have come out of the Griffin Woods and have started to ravish the eastern lands of the Empire. And the vampires are infighting. It seems that they are not yet ready to come out in force, but once Sylvania has been knighted, rest assured that they will come. Karl Franz must be ready to hold off the eastern part of the Empire when the time comes, and to do that, he must first finish dealing with these rebels. There is no time to waste.
The Empire.
First things first, we need to make sure that Karl Franz has his forces ready. He recruits new spearmen into his army. He gained many scars from his battle. He is ready and rearing to try again once his forces are back in order.
Now.
His wizard continues his basic training to make sure he's more and more effective for the next time. They cannot lose again. In Ubersreich, it is time to start rebuilding the infrastructure, make sure that there is prosperity in Reikland, so that the battles in the east can be fought confidently. With troop standards now at a higher level, it's time to change the focus to cavalry. They are the parts that will bring victory on the battlefield. They are going to require more armor if they are going to survive their charges. Virus moves the rest of the way into the fortress of Helmgart. Not unexpected. Perhaps he'll leave the city vulnerable to attack. The Elector Counts are once again in debate, this time about the separation of the religious cults from the matter of imperial policy. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Karl Franz is the emperor and all will bend to his will. For the time being, it is Averland that must be supported. They are a strong faction. They must be kept at peace. Karl Franz enters the city as Ubersreich to get his army back in shape to fight again. He orders more knights, as well as halberdiers, in order to supplement his forces. He will not come underprepared again. Sylvania sends their first indication that they are preparing to strike the Empire, breaking the non-aggression pact that they have with the Emperor. This does not bode well, and time is short. A few more soldiers are still needed, but Karl Franz decides that he is going to recruit a new army to lead his forces. He brings out Oleg Waldorf to recruit a new army that will defend Ubersreich while he marches to Eilhart.
Summon the Elector Counts. What?
Champion of the faith.
His new general needs to be fast-moving and inspiring to his men. Brunberg's infrastructure project has completed. We need to improve the pastures to make sure that the army and people are fed. The rebels have begun a new army in response to Karl's movements. But it will not matter. Karl Franz is ready. He has enough forces to claim the city.
Who calls?
Meanwhile, Oleg moves his army into Reich and continues to grow.
Ready to serve.
An undercity of the Skaven has been discovered. They have been smashed in the open field and now they seek to undermine Altdorf. It must be destroyed immediately. And yet more resources are needed than are currently available. It must be saved so that that can be destroyed. The time has come for Karl Franz to reclaim the rest of Reikland. He moves forward and starts his assault. The Emperor returns to having his gunners in the center of the line where he will protect them. He has deployed his cavalry behind and in the nearby forests in order to keep them hidden. He will spring his trap when he is ready. Karl Franz moved his army to the edge of the hill to get in range of his mortars. And the move successfully got the enemy to march forward. He has the superior numbers, the position, and he can remain on the defense. Victory is assured. The enemy crossbows have been annihilated, and the Emperor's cavalry is preparing for its final charge. The enemy will rout soon. With this victory, Reikland was now secure. It was time to take the fortress of Helmgarts and then decide how to help best serve the Empire. And yet, news was received that their friends to the west has had trouble. The Dukedom of Bastogne in Bretonnia has been defeated by their enemies. Perhaps there would be troubles on the western borders as well. He still needed to move quickly to secure his own borders, to make sure they were ready to face other outside threats that may be growing. With the victory at Adelhart, enough resources were gathered to destroy the Skaven undercity in Altdorf. Between Oleg and Emperor Karl Franz, there could well be enough forces now to move against Hans and retake Helmgart. A little more time to rest before the assault would be needed. Perhaps a few more soldiers could still be gathered to the cause.
As is my right by Sigmar's crown.
Hans, the Amethyst Wizard, started to study his Soulblight spells. They would weaken the enemy infantry so that the soldiers of the Empire could take them down with greater ease.
Now,
Karl Franz himself earned another scar in his victory. His body would be full of them to mark his prowess on the battlefield and his honor and courage of standing. He needed to regain his position in the sight of his followers after his disastrous defeat. It had to be washed away for there to be but a memory of it. In addition to the scars, he also needed to upgrade his armor. Scars were nice, but not getting them at all was even better. Now that Reikland was secure, it was time to issue some proclamations. He wants people to join into Altdorf, grow the city so that it becomes a great metropolis that could rival any that the world has to offer. Even the great cities of the elves would pale in comparison to its grandeur. And so the time has come to deal with vampires, though it was not the vampires he expected. Instead of Vlad von Karstein leading the way, it is Heinrich Kemmler. They must be in league with one another. Vlad must seek to destabilize the Empire and distract Emperor Karl Franz by having his puppets attack from the west.
A quest has been issued, mighty lord. A great adventure beckons. Be wary, though, for while the potential rewards are great, so too are the perils.
A great Norskin fleet finally attacks the northern coast. Karl Franz is going to have to help if he does not wish his northern coast to be overrun. The rebels have created a second force in Helmgart. Where they get the funds to support such an army is unknown. They must have outside supports. Emperor Karl Franz marches to meet with Oleg. Together, they block the path into the Empire.
Summon the Elector Counts.
The Emperor recruits a few more soldiers so that his army is as strong as possible to deal with the threat. He cannot have a repeat of last time he marched against Helmgart. He must have victory if he wants his people to think of him as the next coming of Sigmar, defender of the Empire. His cavalry has gotten the needed training. It's time to turn attention back to the infantry. The standards have been improved, and his wizard will make sure that they have the upper hand against the enemy. But it's time to make sure that his infantry can also withstand any force that comes against them through improved armor. After a few days of camp, they will be ready to march one more time against the rebels and defeat them once and for all. Slavlakland comes to the Emperor asking for help. He wishes to provide military access to the east so that the plagues that have been infecting Hawkland and the spirits coming out of the grove in the east could be dealt with. Hans has retreated back into the fortress, yet a force still lays outside. An attack now could draw out the entire force. They will again be outnumbered, but not as much as they were last time. The Emperor thinks carefully on the dilemma, but still, the same logic that held the hold last time is true. He has other problems to deal with across the Empire, and he cannot be sitting waiting. The time to strike is now.
Protector of the weak.
The enemy army made it into the city before Karl Franz's army could catch them. He must now face them in the fortress itself. It is the last thing he wanted, but the fortress must be taken. It is the key to hold the West. The fortress is strong and large with only one entry point. He can only assault it head-on. His reinforcements will arrive soon, and with their combined might, he hopes to be able to enter into the fortress. If nothing else, he can do some damage and run, and fight again. But that would only be at the worst case. He needs to deal with this army quickly and help the rest of the Empire. They cannot be left to stand alone.
As long as we draw breath, they will die! Ulrich's wolves charge with us!
The fighting for the walls was tough. Both sides sustained heavy casualties, but it was not looking good for Karl Franz as his infantry was getting low. He still had cavalry in reserve, but they had no way to enter the wall and join the battle. But finally, one flank broke through and gave a sliver of hope. Karl maneuvered his forces to focus on that side. It was not very much, but if he could take the gates, it might be enough to be able to bring the battle in his favor. The Emperor decides he has no choice but to retreat his forces and fight another battle. Helmgart withstood another attack. The Emperor retreats. He sends Oleg back into their own territory in order to recruit further soldiers that would be needed. More infantry to scale the walls. Cavalry does him no good if they can't break through. For the first time, Averland oversteps their bounds. They have taken the moot as their own. This will not be allowed. It must be returned back to Stirland. The Empire must be stable. It cannot have petty squabbles. A new hero has come forward. It is in perfect time to join the army to reclaim Helmgart. He orders it forward to join with the Emperor.
Keen sight. On it.
Karl retreats back into his own territory to further recruit. Crossbowmen proved to be valuable shooting over the walls.
Here to serve. Your word is my command.
So,
The wizard continues to improve his soul blights to continue to help take the walls If the enemy can't fight, the walls will be easy to crack. Middenland now comes back to the Empire, asking for help. His lands have been overrun by greenskins. He doesn't know where else to turn. Does he deserve to have his territory returned to him? Or perhaps the Emperor should take it as his own and rule it directly? A warrior priest has come and sworn fealty to the Emperor.
Power within prayer.
He is going to be attached to Karl Franz's army to help him take the walls.
Shield of faith.
The Witch Hunter will be rerouted to Oleg to support him.
Looking ahead.
Champion of the faith.
A little more time is still needed before another attempt can be made. A little bit more infantry will be needed, but finances are already strained. They'll have to make do with what they have.
Who calls? In the name of Magnus.
The Emperor reorganizes his army to squeeze out a little more money.
Servant of the faith.
Nordland further desires peace with the Emperor, taking another step closer for friendship, which the Emperor gladly accepts and welcomes. Nordland will be a trusted friend to the Empire. Further complications have developed. The Emperor has received word that beastmen have appeared in the nearby woods. He cannot allow them to fester even if he were to take the fortress of Helmgard. They must be dealt with immediately. And so again, the siege has to be put on hold.
Yes. I am Franz. They will obey. Ulrich's wit.
The beastmen are put down swiftly without trouble. They will not trouble the Empire. But Reikland does need another rest before they can assault Helmgard.
I will do anything for Sigmar.
Make haste, men. I see no other option.
A good news related to the beastmen was that they found a treasure chest full of coin and valuables. This allows further recruitment to assault the fortress. More swordsmen are brought in. Let us hope that it is enough.
By the comet.
Hans Alderman improves his soul blight yet again through practice in battle against the beastmen. Perhaps he took a little too much delight in bending their armor and will to his own. The Emperor himself has ordered another armor to be improved. He must be able to stand firm against the beastmen and the undead and greenskins alike. He cannot let himself falter.
Protector of the weak.
The Archlector, Oleg Waldorf, needs to continue to have stronger soldiers to scale the walls. He makes sure that they are well trained.
True servant of Sigmar.
And the Witch Hunter, Simon Nussbacher, must also be ready for fighting. the Emperor has a chance to gain additional authority with the Elector Counts through using the Merchants Guild. Through arranging some favors, he is able to increase his standing. It is something that must be done at this time. It is time to try once again to take the fortress,
Praise be to
but this time, Karl Franz devises a new strategy. He orders Oleg into the territory to raid.
ever onward.
I am
He himself
Prince and
comes
Emperor,
behind and sets an ambush.
as is my right by Sigmar's crown.
He hopes that the enemy army will take the bait outside of the range of the Hellguard garrison. By doing so, he can face the army of Hans and Thyrus on the battlefield and not behind their walls. His cavalry and their hooves will crash like thunder. But only if they take the bait. Hans Frankenwerder fell for Emperor Karl Franz's tactic. The ambush has succeeded. The ambush is set. No survivors will be allowed today. Too many times have they thwarted his plans. They cannot be allowed back to the fortress to regroup. It ends here. The enemy army was dispatched with ease. Now it is time to run them down to make sure they cannot return to the fortress.
Charge with us!
Victory is achieved, but the Emperor lost just a little bit of humanity this day. With victory achieved, nothing stands before the Emperor and the fortress of Helmgart. It will be his, no matter the cost.